7 patents. Oh, guys, you're going to like this. This is Dr. Speri in 1982. He's featured in Cincinnati Magazine with his ladies all around him. The article was "The Amazing Dr. Speri," and some of his colleagues kidded him at the Institute. They said, "Hey, Doc, why don't you give us a couple of those girls?" And doctors retorted back, "Get your own girls." So we see a sense of humor there. Okay, on a personal note, Dr. Speri was a very unpretentious gentleman. He always referred to himself as George Speri, not Dr. George Speri. He was affable, but he could be really tough when necessary. Doctor did have a downside. Even doctor, he could not drive very well. Colleagues did not like riding with him. His mind was on research and not on red lights, of which he drove through many. They hung on for dear life. Now, he knew 3 popes personally, and this is Pope Pius XII, but Pope Pius XI appointed him into the Pontifical Academy of Arts and Sciences in 1936. That was an international appointment. There were 70 members total and only 6 Americans. It was a huge honor for Dr. Speri. He was only 36 years old. So he knew, we just saw Pope Pius XII, and here he is with Pope John the 23rd. So he did know 3 popes personally, and he traveled to Rome many, many times throughout the years. On the display tables are all of his degrees and honors. He had 5 honorary doctorates, and he was the recipient of the Catholic Action Medal in '42 and the Mendel Medal, a prestigious medal, in 1943. Dr. Speri held 42 patents. So, this was his home in Fort Mitchell, somewhere between over the dry cleaner, remember? Somewhere in the late 20s, mid to late 20s, the Spertis built this home. It is gorgeous still today. It's on the corner of Fort Mitchell Avenue and Dixie Highway, and at that time this beautiful trellis garden went with the property. Now it looks like it belongs to the house next door, but at that time it was in the Sperti yard. They probably built it. So that was their beautiful home in Fort Mitchell. This is the beginning of the Sperti farm here in Boone County. He loved this farm so very much, and he really created it himself. This is the lane. Well, let me just tell, Dr. Speri brought the old McMillan farm in 1933 from the 4-way stop in Burlington. You just turn left, and it's a mile out the East Bend Road, off on the left. They bought this farm as a retreat. It was 1933. The phone was ringing off the hook day and night. They wanted him to answer a question, come and work for them. It must have been very bad because they really wanted to get away. And so they bought this beautiful farm. They fell in love with it, and they moved here permanently in the late 30s. It was about 600 acres of land. They kept acquiring land. There were new parcels coming in. So this is just some pictures of the farm coming up, so I'll try to pay attention here. When we get to the house, Doctor designed this house. He was so we give him a new title now, architect. This house is made from stone that was brought up from Gunpowder Creek. It's a really steep hill, and it's 1930s. The farmers are out of work, so they really built this house. And they brought load after load after load of stone. The back of the house was really created first. That was the retreat, and then they put the 2-story on the front, and that's very elegant. And the back here is back sleeping rooms. This house was built for fun, entertainment, their retreat, and for guests, because that large wing there is for sleeping, to stay over. Okay, that's the house. That's how far it goes back. The wing travels very far back, and that would have been the first area of the house. This is the party room. They have a room there. It's a banquet room. It must be the most gorgeous. It's 1,000 square feet, beautiful pine paneling, the open beam ceiling. That's from timber from the farm. And see this window off here to the side, there would have been a bartender in there. This was the day of elegance. As you can see, the candle holders, and people that worked on the farm said it took weeks to get ready for these parties. They polished the silver, and it was just a lot of undertaking to get ready. And like I said, then the bartender would have been there, probably a hired bartender. It was a very elegant time in history. And they enjoyed. There's Mildred, and Doctor is there, older now. And there's a server, it looks like, coming around.
That's Dr. Nutini's wife, right?
Oh, okay. Doctor in the kitchen. And we have to know that Doctor planted. Not only did he line the lane with the beautiful pine trees that almost made a canopy, it was just his fairy tale farm. There's Mildred, of course she's older here. But Doctor always had a vegetable garden. He had grape arbors. He had raspberries, blueberries, which was his favorite crop. And when threatened with an infestation, he got out there and covered them meticulously with cheesecloth to protect it. This is their lake. This is not a very good shot of their lake. We have a prettier shot. This is shot down from the house. Beautiful dog, Father Jansen, one of the Catholic priests that visited often, built the dog. And there was sand laid like a beach, and the local children all came and swam there. This is just a sweeping shot of the farm. Another good shot of the farm. That house has 9 fireplaces and 8 bathrooms at the time of Dr. Speri. So it was meant for entertainment. This was a working dairy farm. They always had farm managers. Willard Scott and his family, and then Harry Bear and his family ran the farm. And dairy farming is very demanding. You milk morning, you milk night, you do work all in between. And then they had crops too. They had some tobacco and corn, so they had the major crops going. So it was a big undertaking to run this farm. There's another good picture of the barn. Now, he was known for champion cattle and bulls. This is a champion here. Mr. Bear's showing him, and that is a good-looking bull. This, though, is the Grand National All-American Champion. This is Boontucky Pat. And we have the silver plate to prove it on our display table. So that, and now Dr. Speri worked with his light, enriching their food, producing great bone structure and muscle mass. So that's how we've got that silver platter. And that's Mr. Bear. Dr. Speri liked to ride when he was younger, and he said, I'd rather ride than eat. And of course, there he is on one of these saddle horses. Lots of Boone County, lots of Burlington people would see Dr. Speri mowing on his tractor. There's a local child with him and his dog, and he said he could really think, just get out and mow and think. This small house was to the left of the barn, and while the Willard Scotts were in the other stone house, there was a matching stone house that was the farm manager's home. It looked a lot like Dr. Speri's home. It's down now, though, sadly, because of the Arlinghouse subdivision. Brookwood Fireplaces and all went. So the Bears lived here when the Scotts were in the identical stone house, and this was to the left of the barn. The mouse house. This is the infamous mouse house, but Dr. Speri built this house especially to raise mice for the experiments, and it had up to 30,000 mice in there at a time, and they were different species and colors to be used for different research experiments. It had to be kept meticulously clean. It was air conditioned so that the research would be clear, and they couldn't have diseased mice. That's peeking in the mouse house. You see the long counter and the sink. Dr. Sperti died on April 29th of 1991. He is buried in St. Mary's Catholic Cemetery in Fort Mitchell. He lies right beside Mildred, as he would have wanted it. Their mother and father are at the beginning of the grave. And so that's where he is. And now we'll just stop right there for a moment. On one of his last interviews, Dr. Speri at his home on his Boontucky farm, looking out the window, stated, I've had great luck in my life. Things just seem to work out for me. I love Burlington, Boone County, and this countryside. I personally feel that he was a very satisfied man. And I hope that through this presentation you have a better understanding and respect for Dr. George Sperti, inventor, scientist, and most of all, humanitarian. And we are so honored that he chose our Boone County in which to live. And I know one thing's for sure, our world is a much better place today that Dr. George Sperti passed through it. Thank you.